Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figured Out Productions. The following video is a video of some kind, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, it's Adam here, and check it out. I went to a convention. This is the Missouri Game Con in St. Louis. This is a nice aerial perspective of it. So that was up from a skybox area. But I was a guest of this convention. I had actually been a guest at the same convention last year. What you're seeing here is before everything was set up, people were just coming in, starting to set things up. And as a guest at the convention, I got to go in early and just get to check out the lay of the land, as it were. So I'll talk more about the convention in a bit here. But yeah, I just thought I'd give you guys kind of a quick look at some of the stuff that was out on the show floor. This is from Trading Games. Jason, who runs this, has a lot of great stuff, as you can see there. This is the dude who has like an insane, he's got like 26 consoles complete. Like, I did a video last year of not only the convention, but also of this dude's collection. It's just insane. I called it like biggest video game collection I've ever seen or something like that. Look it up. It's absolutely nuts. So he had a bunch of great stuff, as he always does. So I saw, a bunch of familiar faces like him, people I hadn't seen since the convention last year, a lot of people who run the convention, of course, and then also, new faces that are nice and friendly and all that. A lot of good deals at stuff like this. As always with conventions like this, a lot of them will take they'll take credit cards, but cash is always preferred. And typically if you, have cash, you can get some really good deals because, they're more willing to haggle and stuff because they don't want to deal with credit cards. It's, that's just a pro tip for, of course, when you go to a convention. But, not only sell video games, there's always entertainment booths, and there's indie booths, and there's artwork booths, as you can see right there. So all sorts of cool stuff, and you'll see more of it as we go. Like right here, this is Bob on the left. He wasn't selling anything. He was just kind of setting up like a little museum type of area. So he brought a bunch of his rarer game consoles, and then you'll see it in greater detail later. But yeah, look, Geo Cd. That's a console I've wanted for a long time. But yeah, he was just setting that up so with little bits of history so people could come and see cool stuff like that. But yeah, all sorts of great stuff around here. Limited run games here on the left. There's my buddy Jake, who is one of my handlers. There's Kelsey Lewin, I'm sure a lot of you know. Limited run games came. They sold a bunch of stock that they had of various games they've published, as well as having plushies and other things. Yeah, so a lot more cool stuff down the way. But yeah, again, this was before the convention had officially opened, so people are still in the process of setting up. Now right here is my buddy. This is Terry Diebold. He actually is the owner of the Nintendo PlayStation prototype, as you can see right there. Yes, it's real, and you'll see plenty of glory shots of it in this video, but it's an insane story how he got this thing and what it even is. If you're not familiar, if you're like, what the fuck is going on here? The Nintendo PlayStation right there, yes. It's basically Sony and Nintendo at one point were working together. Oh, there's Rich right there, Kevin in the background, and that was actually Radical Reggie, who you only kind of got a shot of. I'm sure a lot of you guys, YouTubers, know him. And my buddy Ben runs this podcast called Video Game Dads Podcast. You guys should check it out. But I'll talk more about the Nintendo PlayStation in a little bit once it's more relevant. The guy in the green shirt there, you didn't see my face, that was Steven Lucas. He's the 1991 Nintendo World Champion. Very cool, like the hodgepodge of various guests that I got to hang out with at the convention. Nice bunch of people to meet up. Also, Steven Riggs was there. But I don't know if I ever got footage of him. The dude, Corey and Try, my buddies from My Life in Gaming, were also guests there. But yeah, lots of cool people there, and lots of good deals and games, of course, around that you could get, you could check out. Now there was some indie developer areas, which you saw there. There's some cosplay that would eventually happen. Down in the distance, you can kind of see it. I didn't shoot very good footage of this, and I'm not sure why, but there's an arcade section down there and tabletop gaming and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know why I never really went over there and just shot footage. That was kind of a mistake, but hey, it is what it is. So yeah, this was after most of the first day was over and the convention was kind of wrapping up. I never really got much footage of when the convention was actually busy, except for this shot right here. As you can see, it actually it filled up and it looked pretty good. So that was pretty nice. But yeah, I aside from that one shot, I didn't really get a whole lot of footage when it was at its peak busyness. So don't get the impression that people didn't show up. They did. I just kind of wasn't doing my job. I wasn't getting as much footage as I should have. But yeah, very cool convention to be able to go to. And again, like, you'll just see stuff like this, like giant boxes, like every game in there is like $1 or whatever, or $2 for 7 games or whatever, and, you know, so stuff like that. I don't remember the exact details, like $2 or, you know, 7 for 15 or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the deals were. This was being sold on the floor. This is an actual Nintendo World Champion cart. They let me get footage right over there of that. That's legit. That's one of the very rare copies, but it was right there. Awesome. And also what they had on display, although this was not for sale, and yes, I know it exists, those little things you see sticking out of the GameCube are new. They are GameCube HDMI adapters. I'm very aware of what they are. I want to do a video. I don't own one. The guy who makes them has not contacted me. I'd love to make a video, but essentially what they are is a way, like a way to tap into the GameCube to get digital output through HDMI, and you can bypass the component problem and get a very nice picture out of the image. But that's all I can tell you for now, because I don't have one. So over at the rare console areas, this is an FM Towns Marty. It's actually signed by Luke Morris, if you guys know him. He's a YouTuber who lives in Japan. According to my buddy Bob, that is the first time Luke Morris ever signed an autograph for anybody, and it's on the bottom of that console. It's a Bandai Palladia that was on display. This is just Bob's collection, but he had a lot of cool stuff. Geo Cd, as mentioned before. Things like the JVC XI, which I have one of those. PCFX, which I've got. I've showed it in videos before. Pioneer Laser Active, I did a video on. So a lot of cool stuff that Bob had in his collection there that he was cool enough to just bring out and just to show to people, which was nice of him to do. But let's talk about the ultimate in rarity. And over there you can see a lot of people congregating. There's for one very specific reason. It was, of course, the this the Nintendo PlayStation prototype. And as you can see, the disc tray works. So basically the deal with this thing, Sony and Nintendo at one time were working together to create the PlayStation. Not the PlayStation we all know, but this thing. It would have been basically a Super Nintendo with a CD drive in it. Now, it was capable of playing music, which this one actually does, and they would have also made games specifically for the disc drive. I've done videos on this whole story and why it all fell apart and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, at the end of the day, they scrapped all the prototype copies except for this one. This is the only one of these left in existence, and my buddy Terry here owns it. So now we were tinkering with it, and we discovered, well, I'm sure Terry already knew this, but I didn't. So it can play music CDs. Thanks to the Ben Heck show, they were able to get it up and running. And no, it doesn't play actual PlayStation games, but it can play music CDs. And what it does is it'll play music CDs while the game is in operation, kind of like the OG Xbox does. It'll actually cut out the game audio and play music over the cartridge game. Now, unlike the original Xbox that was smart enough to disable the game music but keep the sound effects, this can't do that, which makes sense. It's just a prototype. They never built it with that in mind. But it is kind of cool that it happens to do that. So in case that didn't totally make sense, you can play Super Nintendo or Super Famicom games with CD music. It's just that, or different CD music, just not with sound effects. On the back there, there's some, it's got composite out, S-video out. It has multi-out, which actually does support RGB. This is a homebrew game that was made specifically for this machine, or in reference to this machine. This is Super Boss Gaiden. It's a weird game where you play as like a guy, a boss of Sony, who's upset that the prototype has made it out into the public. It's a pretty funny game. So they got it running on a cartridge, and I believe they also got it running on the CD portion. Now, what Terry did, or well, what Terry allowed, I should say, is they dumped the BIOS for this thing onto the internet. You can actually contact Terry if you want the BIOS. If you're a homebrew developer or you're interested in working on this thing, he will give you the BIOS and you can just try to program games for it. If you make one, they are happy to test it out, try it and get it running and take it to conventions and show people your work and have it run on the actual prototype. So contact Terry if you are interested in potentially developing games for the CD drive for this thing, because he's totally open to letting people do it. Yeah, Terry's a really good dude. He, by the way, thanks my buddy Ben for filming this. He also got the back of my ear. I've always wanted to see what the back of my ear looked like. Just nice shot, some of the guests right there. As mentioned before, Terry's a really good dude. He ended up working on my panel with me. Often he would have to go out to the bathroom and I would be on guard duty, for the rarest console of all time. No biggie, no pressure, right? But yeah, so I got a panel here, and I want to thank everyone who came out to my panel. And that was awesome to do. Terry, thank you for joining me, and also, yeah, time for pickups. So that was the Missouri GameCon. Right there at the end, obviously I mentioned that I had a panel. I didn't record it, but it was recorded by other people. If you would like to check it out, there's a link in the description, so you can go to another channel and listen to the panel if you want to. Again, it was myself and Terry Diebold, the owner of the Nintendo PlayStation. Most of it was recorded, but not all of it, but it's up to you. Anyway, moving on, I got some pickups, and so it's time to talk about them. I didn't go nuts like I did last year. Last year I spent stupid amounts of money, and gladly I didn't do that this year, but I did get some stuff, and I thought I'd show it to you. Plus, in all honesty, I was limited to the space in my backpack, so it's kind of nice in a way, because it kind of prevents you from doing stupid shit, but at the same time it does kind of suck because there's stuff you see you like you can't get. But anyway, so here is what I did walk away with. First thing I got had nothing to do with the convention. It was actually something I got the day before while I was on the trip. They were taking us to different stores, and I saw this thing. I was like, oh fuck, that's coming back with me. It's this. It's just a Back to the Future 2 figurine, specifically by something called Minimates, not a franchise I'm familiar with, but I have a thing for Time Machine DeLoreans. I've got a whole collection of them. I don't care about like the figure of, you know, Doc Brown, nothing against him of course, but I collect little, you know, I collect DeLoreans, especially Time Machine DeLoreans, so really very cool to have that. I'd never seen it before, so I was like, this fucking thing's coming back, so happy to have that. Now at the convention itself, I met up with a lot of viewers of the channel, which was great, both this channel, my other channel, Game Society, as well as, you know, there's plenty of people who had never heard of me there, but they were like, after watching my panel, they're like, oh dude, like there was a lot of people, if you watch the panel, you can actually see it. There's a lot of people who said like, I've never heard of you, to be honest with you, but I'm totally subscribing to you now. So, a lot of people I met, it was great. A lot of other guests and stuff, it was awesome to hang out with. But some people stand out. You know, sometimes you just take a photo with somebody, and sometimes you make a lot of conversation, and sometimes people actually give you stuff, which you don't have to do that, but sometimes people do it anyway. And in this case, there was a dude, I think his name was Chris, and I'm so sorry if I got that wrong, but I'm pretty sure your name was Chris, or his name. He's like sitting there going, no, my name's like John. No, I'm pretty sure it was Chris. Pretty sure it was Chris. But yeah, anyway, so he actually came down from Minnesota to meet me, which is flattering as shit. And he actually, first thing he does is he hands me a deck of cards. He says, you know, I work at a casino. I've been working there for I believe it was 7 years. He's a blackjack dealer. And he gave me a deck of cards from his casino. It's in Morton, Minnesota. It's called the Jackpot Junction. So if you're anywhere near that area, there's a guy there who watches my channel. You guys can hang out and talk shit about me if you want. But anyway, so thank you for the deck of cards. And the other thing he did is he actually made this for me. Check that out. It's very rare that I get fan art of any kind, and obviously it's a Dreamcast controller. It's really neat, like hand painted and stuff, and that's really cool. So thank you again, Chris. That was really cool of you to do. Now, as per convention law, I walked away with some T-shirts. This was last year's T-shirt, or one of the T-shirts. This was actually the vendor shirt, even though I didn't sell stuff. This is the shirt they gave me, which was I'm totally cool with. But this was this year's shirt. This is, check that out. You see MO, or Missouri GameCon, you know, a little bit of dice there, a controller and stuff. Pretty cool, in black, in my size, awesome to have. And then there was another shirt. This was a bonus. This is from my buddy Ben, who you saw earlier in the video. This is from his podcast that he works on. Video Game Dads, the podcast. Look it up. I will be on that podcast at some point, whenever the hell we can coordinate it. So go ahead, give it a listen, and you know, have a good time. But Ben, thank you again for the shirt. But he wasn't done there. Actually, when I first walked into the convention, my first pickups of any kind, aside from that Back to the Future figure, came from Ben. And we were just chatting, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I got some stuff for you." Now you have to understand, Ben collects PS3. He's really into it. I don't know if he's going for a full set or not. But we talked a lot about like weird regional exclusives and stuff because he likes to import. And we talked about this one last year, and he just hands it to me this year. It's a game called We Dare. Flirty fun for all. This is basically like a sex puzzle game, sex party game is probably a better way to describe it, that Ubisoft made. They put out on the Wii and they put out on the PS3, but only in Europe. They require the PlayStation Move or the Wiimote if you have the Wii version. I actually have the Wii version, but I've never been able to use it because it's region locked. But of course, the PS3 version probably better and not region locked, which is fantastic. So we'll probably play this on my other channel, Game Society again, at some point. That'll be awesome, I assume. So thank you again, Ben, for that. The other thing he gave me was this, which is Karaoke Revolution for the original Xbox. Now I actually have this. I've actually got just like the DVD case version. But this is the full big box version that comes with the microphone and the game and everything. So really cool to actually have the full version of that now. So thank you again, Ben. Then I decided to, after that I'm going to look around for some OG Xbox. I love finding OG Xbox stuff. And that's a perfect place to do it because tons of it's cheap. But again, space in the bag, So one of the ones I picked up was kind of obvious. I had to get it at that point. Karaoke Revolution Party, which is the sequel, just had to fit it because now I have the mic. I got Madagascar, Seablade, Splat Renegade Paintball, and Kill Switch. And then the last thing I got was actually this. Check that out. How cool does that look? That's actually a picture of Guile from Street Fighter. This was actually released for the Street Fighter 15th anniversary. What it actually is a controller. It's a fighting controller. This was made for the original Xbox by Capcom. I had no idea this existed. I knew they made a bunch of these for the PS2, but no idea they'd done one for the Xbox. This is actually still sealed. It was stupid cheap, which tells me that they probably didn't sell very well. This was number 108 of 25,000. It's a nice low number, which is cool. But yeah, I just had to get it because, again, it was cheap. It's an Xbox peripheral I've never heard of before. And if I were to open it, I bet you would actually do a pretty good fighting controller. So yeah, definitely wanted to get that. So yeah, that's it for my pickups. I told you it was short but sweet. So I want to thank every single person who came out to the convention to meet me or just met me at the convention. If we took photos together or anything like that, please send me the photos over Twitter, or whatever, Facebook, doesn't matter. Preferably Twitter, actually. Thank you to every one of the guests that I got to hang out with. That was awesome. And I also want to thank, special thank you to everyone who put on that convention, because I know that was not the easiest thing to do. So off the top of my head, it was Charlie, Chad, Pat, Rich, Kurt, Jason, Bob, and Jake, aka Zebular, which I believe Zebular is the one who will be actually hosting the panel if you want to check that out. So again, link in the description. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all later.